Hey everyone, so I have this mess up here because I wanted to do something for this art contest that someone I follow on Instagram and TikTok and everything, and I actually have some of her Rush Tone recreation dolls. I have the Gingerbread Man, and I've been wanting to get other ones, but she has a contest right now going on. It's Cozy Craze Cuddles, and I did have to take a screenshot because I wanted a reference where the contest is to draw or make one of her designs. I think there's like the goat, this one, and I forget which other one, in your style kind of thing. And I'm a card maker and a paper crafter, so I'm going to try to make that out of some cardstock so I can make it onto a card. And so because I love me some Halloween, and if you guys know I collect vintage things, I would love some Rush Tone dolls, Rush Tones, however you want to call it. But they are so hard to find, and especially the city that I'm in, extra hard to find. So anyhow, that's why I love collecting her dolls. Either way, I am going to order one of these because they're just too freaking cute. I have the gingerbread. She's gonna have a reindeer coming soon, and I just realized that I missed her dogs, the little doggy keychains, but I digress. So let's come along and let's see if I can do this and figure this out. Let's see how it turns out. As you can see right here, I was playing with some of the colors that I wanted to use. So I start out with just, regular shapes to try to doodle the cute little face from the bat onto this cream cardstock. I think all of these cardstocks, these shades, are actually from Michaels. They are 110 pound. The pink one is from the pack of multiple pinks. The cream, I think, is just like ivory or whatever. And the gray is from this pack of like 5 different grays or something like that. Anyhow, after I doodle just a little drawing of the face, I go ahead and cut it out. Now, my original plan is to just flip it over and draw what I want on the opposite side. But whenever you start with the plan, it never ends up that way. Here I am just drawing the body, kind of giving myself, and I can sketch it up, lines, erase, whatever. It can look like a total mess because when I cut it, I'm just going to flip it over and use the opposite side for my actual project. Now, I start out with the ears. This is my quick rough sketch, and I go ahead and I just double it over. Now, the ears took me the longest time because I wanted them to be perfect and almost give that folded over kind of look. So here I am. I did one of them, and I had to do one of these again because I didn't realize that one of the papers was smaller than the other. Now I move on to the inner part of the ear in pink, and again, just rough cut of a piece of paper, and then I'm sitting here and sketching out the ear that I already have in gray because the pink part is actually going to be on the inner side. Now I can easily go in and just try to cut it, but I wanted to draw it in first so I can kind of get a better feel of the ear and make sure it kind of goes with the actual plush toy. Now the funny thing is, this one I actually did like 3 or 4 times because I flipped it over and I forgot what side it went on, and it kind of looks like the same shape either way, but I cut it, and then I cut it down, and then I cut it down some more so it would look like this, where it gave like that thicker part on the upper part of the ear. I know, crazy, but at least it was just one piece of cardstock that I was wasting. Now I move on to the wing, and I double up my cardstock, and this is heavyweight cardstock, so when you're cutting it, you have to take long swipes with a scissor. I don't chop. I like to go in swoops and pause if I have to, but that way I get straight lines. And again, just the drawings on one side, and I flip it over and it's clean and ready to go. And basically I'm making the shapes, making the opposite. The shapes are the same ones, they're just flipped over: the wing, the ears, the feet. And here I am now with the pink part of the wing, of the bat wing, and I go ahead and you see the sketch went off the little paper, but that's fine because I wasn't going to need that space. The pink part is much smaller on the wing, but I do want the bottom part of it to match along with the actual bat wing. So I do cut along that line at the bottom, and then for the top part of the wing on that arch, I go ahead and cut it separately. And of course, you want to make sure that everything matches up. By the way, it's been a long time that I've just randomly paper pieced something out of just looking at a picture. Usually I'll do dies and whatnot, and I've been fortunate to have a lot of dies in my craft room, but I really wanted to do something like this. And I love Rush Tone dolls. When I was little in Mexico, I had a Sleepy Baby one. The thing is, in Mexico, they weren't as available, and they taught some of the local people to actually the state to actually make the dolls so they can gift them or sell them at market. So my godmother actually made me a sleepy baby one. It's the ones that are on their belly and they're sleepy. I know this is way too mi, and I know I should be telling you what I'm doing here, but I mean, come on, I'm cutting ovals for the pause. But and then when I came to Vegas, we moved to Vegas, most of my stuff stayed back home. And when I went back at like 15 or whatever, during the summer, it turns out that one of my younger cousins, who shall not be named, moved back home to the town, to the ranch, to my grandfather's ranch where I was living, and they gave him my toys and he ruined everything. So I hate him. But that's neither here nor there. There we go. A little bit of therapy session with our with our paper feast bat. Oh my gosh. So here I am. Now this is just a regular fine tip Sharpie. And I don't even think it's a Sharpie. I think it's like a supply store. These are office supplies that I snagged for my job before they severance us out and like cut out a bunch of positions. But anyhow, I do the shapes, and these are all just freehand. Please, I assure you, I am not an illustrator. I'm not an artist. I did take several years of art school, but it did not pan out, obviously, because my nose right here is crooked. So my little bat has really bad plastic surgery, really bad rhinoplasty, but you really can't tell. The nose is small, and it works. So, and in retrospect, I shouldn't have used the Sharpie for the eyes, because I do have Copic multiliners which work with Copic markers, whereas Sharpie, because it's an alcohol soluble marker, you can actually bleed it out with Copics. But I was very careful when I did the eyeshadow. Anyhow, here I am just doing the little mouth, the little teeth, and since this is cream cardstock, I was like, well, how are the teeth going to start showing? I tried the white gel pen. It didn't work out. But I did the little mouth and everything, and I had that going. Now, here I am going along with some blue Copic markers to kind of give that cute little blue eyeshadow, and it totally worked out. But I tried not to get too close to the Sharpie because it will bleed it out, since it you can actually take apart Sharpie and whatnot. But here I am. I use a white paint pen, and this is, I'm not sure, is it a Posca or is it just one of the craft store brands that I use to fill in that little the whites of the eyes. And if you notice, it really does stand out. So I was really happy that it worked out. I went ahead and did the little blush. This is like 3 different shades of red that I blended out to make it look like a soft blush. And of course, it needs lashes, of course, because we're giving this little bat the full beauty treatment and getting it ready for its little display. Because by the way, I did intend to make this for a card, but I made it larger, and I'm glad I did because it was easier for me to make the pieces and the face and everything. So I decided to make it a little Halloween wall decor because I love vintage and retro. And I think it would go great with a Halloween decor in my craft room, which I still have to decorate my craft room. I took out all the containers from the tool shed, and I really get to get on it. Now, here I am assembling the bat because now I have the major pieces: the head, the ears, the body, the wings, and the feet. And I thought to myself, well, I'm done. I can probably do something else with it. And then while the paint on the eyes dries and everything, I'm doing everything. So everything is given time to dry because that paint on paper is... The paint pans are basically acrylic paint. Now I'm taking a few pink colors and a few gray colors to give shadowing and shading. I was going to do like little dots like fur, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drive myself nuts and mess them up. Let me just do a little bit of shadowing. So I did a little bit of shadowing just to kind of give it a little bit more of depth and dimension because it was a flat piece. But that changes pretty soon because I'm wild and crazy like that. Here I am just adding the little face, and I'm being very careful not to touch the eyes because the eyes are not dry yet. And here you can see this cardstock, my Copics blended through, but whatever, it doesn't matter. They worked out, and I love the way they came out, because I was kind of worried on how it was all going to come together. And maybe the head's a little bit bigger, but whatever. And if you notice, I don't have a bow on this yet because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put a paper bow or a fabric bow. Well, then comes this. I decided to go on my Cameo software, and I designed a very wide coffin. And also I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna name my little bat, let's call her Luna. How basic, right? And I made a little like plaque. I made this outer frame part for the coffin so it would have dimensions, so it would look like a frame. I was going to do originally like a frame, like, you know, she's mounted, but I'm like, that's gonna look kind of morbid. But I'm like, you know what, why not? And this, like when you like display your bugs and stuff like that, your exotic butterflies, it's a bat. So here I am, and this is the scary part. I now take my bat apart because I didn't think about what I was going to do afterwards. And this happens a lot in my projects. Trust me. If you notice, I'm pulling in a specific way away from the main piece that I'm tearing it on, and I'm going little by little. Is this my first time? No. Is this my 1000th time of taking apart projects? Not in the least. And there will be more. So I go ahead and make a little, I have this velvet ribbon, and I think it's like floral ribbon. So I did a little mock-up bow because I didn't want to have a fat knot for the bow underneath the head. So I just did a little, you know, the 2 loops and then a little wrap around the middle. As you can see, there's one in the background. I messed that one up, so I did it again. Now, I'm about to do the dimensions. I put a bunch of mounting foam. I wanted to give the ears a little bit of like backward shadow dimension, and the head, I think it's like 4 layers of foam on the head alone. I'm wild and crazy. I need more foam. I'm down to my roll is down at the half point. Now I need to get some more. But here I am just positioning the ears. I don't press them down all the way until I feel like they're set, because then, you know, you can't take them off this foam. I hot glue the little bow, now the little feet. And of course, everything now has dimension. And I even like bend the wings a little forward. So yeah, look, I absolutely love it. I love the way it came out. It needs a little wall hanging, so I add a little loop to the top, but there it is. Hope you guys like it. So make sure that you are checking out Cozy Craze Cuddles. I'll add all her information. Her bats will be releasing, I think, today when I post this video, this making of video. So go check her out. I plan to get one as well. I absolutely love it. So keep up the vintage.